Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a source that outlines a really interesting natural approach to cataracts, which, as you know, is one of the most common vision problems people face as they get older. We're going to break down the logic step by step and look at the remedies it proposes.
So, right off the bat, the source material challenges a big, common assumption. When someone gets cataracts, the default path, the one everyone talks about, is surgery. But it asks a really simple question. Is that the only answer? It suggests that maybe, just maybe, before you go down that road, it's worth taking a look at a natural route first.
And to give that question some weight, the source points to the potential downsides of surgery. It brings up a study that shows surgery isn't always a walk in the park. According to this, a whopping 42% of patients can end up with dry eyes. 20% get a droopy eyelid, and then you have others dealing with things like floaters. So the whole argument is, hey, let's look for alternatives that might have fewer side effects.
Okay, let's get into it. Here's our game plan for today. We'll start with why this is such a common problem. Then we'll talk about the rust in your eye. You'll see what I mean. After that, we'll explore nature's antioxidant power, get the recipe for the #1 remedy shake, cover a few more natural tools, and then wrap it all up with the big takeaway.
All right, first up, let's tackle a huge question. I mean, if these natural remedies could actually work, why aren't we seeing massive scientific studies on them everywhere? Well, the source has a pretty straightforward take on that. And here's the point it makes. It all comes down to money. The argument is that these huge, incredibly expensive studies are funded for things you can patent, things that can be profitable. You can't put a patent on a blueberry, right? So there's just no financial incentive for anyone to pour millions of dollars into that kind of research. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this all supposedly works. Because to fix a problem, you've got to understand what's causing it in the first place. The source really hones in on one main culprit behind that cloudiness in the eye's lens. And that culprit is called oxidative stress. Basically, you could think of it as damage happening at the cellular level. The source points out that our eyes are super vulnerable to this, especially when blood sugar is high. So things like a high-carb diet, or having prediabetes or diabetes, that can create a ton of this oxidative stress right in the eye.
And they use this brilliant analogy to explain it. Think about a car in the winter. The salt on the roads causes a chemical reaction, and what happens? The car starts to rust. Well, the source suggests that high blood sugar is like that salt. It triggers oxidative stress that basically rusts the lens of your eye, causing it to get cloudy and form a cataract. It just makes so much sense when you put it that way.
And you know, to make matters just a little bit worse, this whole problem gets accelerated as we age. See, our bodies have their own defense system. We naturally produce antioxidants to fight this kind of damage. But as we get older, that production starts to decline, which leaves us way more vulnerable.
So, this leads us right to the proposed solution. If our own internal defenses are getting weaker, the logic is pretty clear. We need to get reinforcements from the outside. And that's where the powerful antioxidants found in plants come in.
The source points to two major groups of these plant pigments. You've got carotenoids, those are the yellows, oranges, and reds you see in things like egg yolks. But the real star of the show here is the second group, anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give berries their deep red, purple, and blue colors, and they're said to be especially powerful for your eyes.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source lists a whole range of benefits for these anthocyanins. It's not just about potentially reducing cataract risk. They might also help with night vision, relax that tiny muscle in your eye that helps you focus, which can reduce strain from staring at screens all day, and just generally fight that oxidative stress we talked about. So, if anthocyanins are the hero here, what's the best way to get them into your system? Well, the source proposes a #1 remedy. And it's not some complicated pill or procedure. It's something super simple, something anyone can make every single day. And that remedy is a daily shake. It's designed to be a really easy way to get a powerful dose of those eye-protecting anthocyanins, and it combines them with another really beneficial ingredient.
And here's how you do it. It is ridiculously easy. You just combine 1 cup of berries, think blueberries, blackberries, any of those dark ones, with 1 cup of kefir. Blend it up, maybe add a splash of water if it gets too thick, and drink it once a day. That's it. Simple as that.
Okay, but here's a really important detail. Not all kefir is created equal. The source really stresses this. You want to look for kefir that is unsweetened, made from whole milk, not low-fat, and ideally from grass-fed animals. This kind of kefir has way more probiotics than yogurt, and it gives you dietary calcium, which the source also connects to a lower risk of cataracts. All right, so the shake is the main event.
But the source also mentions a few other tools you can add to your arsenal. This is for building a more complete approach to supporting your eye health.
And this next one is a big one, because it's a point of confusion for a lot of people. It's about a supplement called NAC. If you're looking for eye drops, the source says to make absolutely sure you get N-acetylcarnosine. That's the one that's an antioxidant for the eye and can actually get into the lens. It gets confused all the time with N-acetylcysteine, which is a totally different thing used for other health issues. So, carnosine, not cysteine. Got it? And here are the last two recommendations. First, eating runny egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens. Why? Well, they're packed with those carotenoids we mentioned, but also something called choline, which can really help with dry eyes. And second, for anyone who's recovering from an eye injury or surgery, a specific product called Ocutrophin PMG is mentioned as something that could offer support.
Okay, so we've walked through the problem, the cause, and a whole bunch of potential solutions. So what's the big takeaway here? What's the main message from all this?
And this quote, I think, just sums up the whole approach perfectly. It's not about just randomly trying different remedies and hoping something sticks. It's about understanding the why, understanding the mechanism of that oxidative stress, and then using a natural remedy that logically makes sense to counteract that specific problem.
And we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. The source makes a really compelling case that what we put on our plate has a direct, powerful impact on our vision. It really suggests that the choices we make with our diet could be one of the most important tools we have for keeping our sight clear as we get older. Food for thought, right?